Okay. Let me just sort out the audio settings because I don't think it's connected to my earphones properly, at least. Okay, now we're all good. We're all good. The audio should be good. Please let me know if you can actually hear me. Just so I know if I need to fix the audio quickly. Okay, audio is good. Okay, perfect. How you guys doing? The live stream crew. It's good to be back. It's good to be back talking to you guys. Today we've got a special treat. We're talking about, well, you guys can see from the title, Gucci. Here we go, rub hands. Here we go. Today we're talking about Gucci, Fendi, and MSGM. So the funny thing is, this season I'm trying something different because most seasons I can't keep up because so many shows happen. But this season I'm going to try my best to keep up and see if I can basically cover as many shows that happen as possible. Basically, obviously I'll be behind because I'm only streaming twice a week. But so long as, let's say, in a month or two I've finished Milan and Paris, that will be result. Because basically what I want my channel to end up being is like Vogue Runway with like more context, if that makes any sense. Because obviously, let's say if you're writing an article for Vogue Runway, it's very difficult because you have a time limit, like an hour or a couple hours after the show happens, to kind of say what you want to say, and you have to really summarize what you say. So these live streams is like the extended version of that in a way. Going to Paris in 2 weeks. Any tips why I could do that in a week as a fashion interested person? So I actually have a vlog. I think it's called like best fashion spots in Paris. I'd say definitely check that out because there's some cool stuff in that video. Other than that, you'd have to ask the Parisian locals because I'm not an expert. I've only been to Paris like maybe 3 or 4 times. So yeah, I wouldn't consider myself the expert on all things Paris. I can't wait for LV, Xenia, JW Anderson, Prada. Yeah, Milan was really, really strong this season. Really, really interesting stuff. I mean, it's always interesting. What am I saying? But like this season was like, oh, really intriguing stuff. Dammy, let me know if you want to join the live before I start. If you want to join in. If you want to join in, I'll just post the link in the chat and you can follow. Because I'm going to give it a few more minutes and then we're going to hop straight into what we're doing. How's everyone doing though? What are your favorite shows that you've seen so far? We've basically, Milan is finished at this point. So there was some really interesting stuff in Milan. Obviously, Paris, people today are talking about. It's funny because before I came on this live, I was looking at Pharrell Williams' LV collection, the Western-inspired, cowboy-inspired Pharrell collection. But once again, when I look into it properly is when I'm going to review it much later. Perfect timing. I'm working on my portfolio now. I have something fun to watch. Glad to help. I'm glad to help. But yeah, I feel like so much crazy stuff has been going on in fashion. I mean, like Harry Styles became like a minority investor in SS Daily. Stone Island had their first runway show. Gucci is kind of like back in a way. It's so interesting. So interesting. Okay, so Dammy is jumping on, so I'll wait for him and then we can hop straight into it. Because I have a lot to say, especially about the Gucci show. Because I've had time to really sit with it and think about it for quite a while. So you like Fendi and Gucci? That's interesting because I'm talking about Fendi and Gucci today. That's really interesting. MSGM redeemed themselves from last season. I think the thing about MSGM is and I'm going to talk about it later, but I really appreciate MSGM and like what they do. The thing about MSGM is that it can be a bit kitschy at times, and because they have that fun, playful thing going on, it means that it will just be a hit or a miss. It's kind of like Sunny and those kind of brands. But this season, I like the ideas that MSGM had, definitely. And I'll talk about it, obviously, as the stream goes on. When are we going to discuss the yeehaw? Yeehaw! That's funny. What do you guys think about the quality of the stream, by the way? So if you guys don't know how these things work, my camera, I got a camera specifically so I could stream. So all I need is like a USB-C and I stick it into my camera and I can stream directly. So that's what you guys are looking at. But it doesn't let me stream in higher than 720p unless I use like a Thunderbolt 4 cable. So I bought a Thunderbolt 4 cable just so that now you can see me in proper HD. So this is actually the first stream from this camera in like full HD because I have the Thunderbolt 4 cable. I'm just wondering if like you can notice the difference or if I wasted my money.
Yo,
Hello.
yo. What's good?
Are you ready? Are you ready to hop straight in?
Yeah. I'm excited, man. I'm excited, bro. I liked having time to sit with shows. I can't lie, especially knowing that this was gonna happen, though.
Yeah, that's why I'm doing it like every couple of days or like weekly at least, so that you have time to actually take in the show and
Yeah.
actually think about it and like your thoughts and build your thoughts. It's not just like, you know, the thing on Twitter where it's like, oh my God, this is garbage. And then like, it's like no context, no understanding, no nuance. So it's really, really strange. But anyway, to get straight into it, we're going to talk about Gucci Fall Winter 24 menswear. Of course, this is Sabato De Sarno's second official collection as creative director of Gucci. It's also his first menswear collection at Gucci, and this is a role that, as most of you know, he's had since last year. Before becoming creative director at Gucci, he had design roles at Prada, Dolce & Gabbana, and more recently, before he went to Gucci, he was actually director of men's and women's collections at Valentino. So clearly someone that's worked in the industry for, you know, a long time, someone that is a seasoned designer, and so to speak. So this season, the collection was really a sister collection to the women's wear collection. This is nothing new. This is something that many brands do. I mean, we talk about Prada doing this every single season, that the menswear mirrors the women's wear every single season. So nothing new there. And actually, what I find really interesting, if you read the Vogue review, he had some choice words for people that were critiquing his debut collection. So to read what he said, I read some critics in September who said, oh, he just did a commercial collection for the brand, blah, blah, blah. This is bullshit. I don't care about an Instagram moment. And so what he did with this collection, apart from just it being normal for your collection to, you know, be mirrored between menswear and womenswear, he actually specifically doubled down on this collection mirroring the womenswear. So in his words, it gives us more time to take it in, and it gives the critics more time to reevaluate kind of our thoughts on the initial collection, which I thought was like kind of a very interesting perspective on things. But Dami, what are your initial thoughts?
My initial thoughts on the show. Wait, so do you want to go from the absolute first time me seeing it? So okay, so I'll go from the first time me seeing it, and then like after I had some time, right? So basically, I watched the show and I was actually I was intrigued to see what it was like, and then I was seeing the mood, and then I was seeing the themes, and I was quite like I was quite pleased, I guess. Like that's a good word to use. I was quite pleased with what I was seeing, and I was looking at the construction and the detailing. Like obviously, you can't see them all straight away until you get like the images that give you all of the close-ups. But I could just tell that the show was very well detailed in terms of like the design, because there's not necessarily a focus on grand design in terms of the maximalism route that Michele went through. So now it's going into like more nuanced level design, and yeah, that was my initial thoughts. What about you?
Yeah, I think I'm going to obviously expand on why I think this, but I definitely prefer this to the women's wear collection like a lot. Um, and there's many reasons for that. Even though it's a sister collection, actually a lot of it is extremely different. Just some of the fabrics were the same, and like even the first look in this show was very similar to the first look in the women's wear show, damn near like almost identical without like certain pieces. Um, so even though they're kind of similar, I feel like the menswear was more. But kind of just to start with from the top, on my opinion, I think him saying that, he doesn't care about the Instagram moment and he's not just designing a commercial collection. I understand where some of that frustration could potentially come from, because obviously his Gucci does focus on craft. And when you go to the showroom, you actually see that a lot of craft has gone into making the clothes, and it's actually made really, really well. So that is definitely something that is true, in a sense where if you're not up close to the clothes, it's very hard for you to appreciate clothes that don't have a way of catching you through social media, through video as a medium, through images on Instagram, that sort of stuff. So I understand that. But I think in context of critics saying that he designed a commercial collection, I think these things are all about context. And the problem I have with a lot of the ways that people critique runway shows, especially when it's at a big luxury house, is that people almost remove the art out of the context of the fact that this brand actually exists in the space of a massive conglomerate, and these brands are billion-dollar brands with their end goal being making billions. And so when you think about that, it's not new news that Kering had issues with Gucci. This is why they went in a different direction from Alessandro Michele. There's so many reports on the Financial Times, on Forbes, across BOF, where they said that the share prices for Gucci were going down, the performance of Gucci was in question. So when you have all of that context together, and then there is such a stark move to minimalism by Gucci, you can then say, okay, I can see how this is more commercial, because this is more in line with kind of what Gucci wants to do from a financial perspective. That's why they went away from Alessandro. So it's not like these things just come out of the sky. It's not like these things just come from, nowhere. And when you look at the women's wear show, we do see a lot of things that are stripped to their bare bones. We're looking at grey hoodies with Gucci embossed in them, white sleeveless vests. Some of the dresses, even the bust didn't really fit the best. So I just don't think it's like, as much as I definitely think he does focus on the craft, and I kind of love that about his Gucci. And I don't think there is a Gucci look. It kind of reminds me of when Adi Saman went to Celine, and people are saying that, oh, this is not Celine anymore. And it's like, okay, Phoebe Philo does not own the look of Celine. There were designers before her, and there will be designers after her. So I don't think the brand should be necessarily associated with one specific silhouette or look or color or aesthetic. But that being said, I just think it's not far-fetched for critics to look at the show and be like, okay, this is super commercial to hit financial targets, if that makes sense. So that's why I wanted to say along the financial side. So what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, so I've been watching, like, I watched the show in context, right? So my first initial thoughts was quite dark, right? It was like, nice. But then my brain started turning. I was just like, okay, so it's a show. We're in like financial straits. There's a recession looming, or people, well, at least no one's really admitting there's a recession. So people that have savvy understand that, you know, they got to be tighter with money, right? I was also reading reports that, you know, secondary markets are going up in terms of people buying pre-loved goods, as well as the price of Gucci, LV, um, Hermes, and Chanel bags are like going down in terms of people buying them when it comes to resale goods. So then now we're looking at the focus on, okay, so this is a new collection in the context of financial straits and a new direction with the creative director. And then I was just thinking to myself, I feel like there's something going on here. And then there's obviously the LVMH and Karen battle, right, which is what you were alluding to earlier. And I wanted to like kind of dig down in that point and buttress it and say, with that, because it wasn't just that Gucci was doing bad, because they were quite profitable, right? They are the most profitable house at Karen.
Yeah, and the
It was
context
that,
was the growth was slowing down. That's the
yes,
context of
yeah,
Gucci doing bad. Yeah.
yeah. And it there was also that LV, as in like Louis Vuitton, was capturing more market share, especially in the emerging market at out China, right? So that was a fall. And then now we were heading into a stealth wealth era anyways, thanks to Bottega and Loewe, and you know, just what happens when we go into a recession. And then I saw the way that Loewe and Louis Vuitton were splintering, and then I saw the way that Gucci and Bottega were merging almost. And then I was like, wait, hold on a
Mm,
second. When it comes down to like just design direction, I saw there was a stark difference when it comes to LVMH's brands, and there was actually a marriage when it came to Korean brands. And I was quite confused in that, considering that when it comes to business, right? And as you said, the point of the business is to make billions.
mm,
And there's also another point to that, which is you need to be able to differentiate yourself within the market. So why are two brands from the same parent company kind of focusing within the same area and technically
right.
fighting for market share for the same
Mm,
type of consumer? And that was really quite odd to me, and I'm still like digging down and like, you know, putting my feet in there, because I get the sensation and understanding that this may not be the most positive thing for um Karen in the
caring.
long run. And then I was reading what Sarno said, and I was like, he's really into this. Like, he's very, very much into this, and he doesn't like the direction that everybody else is going in, and he prefers exactly what we see on here. So he's not trying to change anytime soon.
Hmm.
So it's not that the writing's on the wall. However, there's a fundamental like philosophy that Karen is following right now that is
Mm.
so different than whatever LVMH is doing, like LV and Loewe is doing. So yeah, like that was like my main thing, and it was, I guess the main critique would be that I don't understand the reason that Bottega and Gucci would be fighting for the same market.
Yeah. No, no, that's an interesting point. And I think even down to like because I sat down with myself and I was thinking, why do I prefer this so much more than the women's wear collection? Um, Not that my arbitrary opinion on what I prefer is actually, it's not fact, it's just an opinion. But I kind of came to the conclusion after sitting with it for so long that I think that this Ancora series, which is obviously the overlying arc with the women's wear and the menswear collection, I think the silhouettes just work better on men than they do women. Um, and I think from the two collections I'm seeing, I just think that Sabato De Sarno is a way better menswear designer than he is a women's wear designer. And I'll show the looks side by side eventually, the menswear looks and then the women's wear looks to kind of illustrate what I'm saying. Um, And it really just kind of reminded me of, you know, when women say there's like a woman's touch that comes with a woman designing women's wear. Like, this is the kind of point that people bring up when they talk about the likes of Phoebe Philo. They talk about Jill Sander being so good at making women's wear that's minimal, but it just looks so luscious and luxurious and flattering on women. And that kind of, a lot of that has to do with like a woman's touch on women's wear. And I don't necessarily believe that this is always true, but there's definitely some truth to it, because I mean, there are men that have definitely designed amazing women's wear like Yves Saint Laurent, and then there are women like Martine Rose that design good men's wear. So it's not like set in stone. But that was kind of something that came to my mind. And I think that there's a big difference between, because when we say minimalism, it's such a broad and to these days almost like a vague term. I think there's a difference between kind of like, when I say something's commercial, it just means that it could be any other brand, at least to me, when I say something's commercial. So the last collection, when I said, oh, it looks really commercial, it could literally be any brand. And there's a difference between that and minimal, because when I think of like brands that are minimal, like when we say minimalism, when we think of Helmut Lang, we think of Jill Sander, we actually think of like a very specific cut. If you think of designers like Yohji Yamamoto, Helmut Lang, Rick Owens, Armani, these are all designers that don't put loads of prints and patterns and loads of like, their clothing is not fussy. But when you see their work, no one needs to tell you that, oh, that's a Rick Owens jacket. No one needs to tell you those are Helmut Lang jeans. No one needs to tell you that's a Martine Rose jacket. No one needs to tell you that's an Armani suit, because their shape is so refined and their silhouette is so distinctive and their tailoring is so distinctive that it's to the point that the silhouette is recognizable as its own logo, if that makes sense. And that is just not what you get in Sabato De Sarno's first Gucci collection. So that's why people are more inclined to say, oh, this is really commercial, because it's in line with just a lot of like very generic silhouettes that we see. And when it comes to tailoring with women's wear. Now, that was the case with the women's wear show. With the menswear show, I don't think that's the case. I think we're definitely seeing more of like a design language. We're seeing more of a tailoring language. We're seeing certain themes that I think that Sabato is going to continue moving forward with Gucci. And I think everyone has their own way of tailoring things. I mean, like, even to go back to Armani, the people that are subscribed to Patreon know this, because the last episode, we literally talked about the history of Armani. But Armani is literally seen as someone that modernized tailoring, because he's someone that used less muted color. Sorry, he used different colors to what we associate with tailoring, especially British tailoring, like the navies, the charcoals, the blacks. He started using colors like beige and olive, and then he made the fabrics a bit more unstructured, because in England, because it's cold, we use tweed and all these thick fabrics, and he was using things, you know, like wool jersey and linen and all that stuff. That's why people call Armani the father of the unstructured suit. So just because something is minimal does not make it bad and does not make it not distinctive. But I think with the first Gucci show, what the issue with it is, it wasn't distinctive. The silhouette was in line with anything else that you see. There's nothing really, you don't look at it and think, okay, this is a new design language in through shape. But that's kind of what I'm getting with the menswear collection. And I think for me, that's where the stark difference is between the women's wear collection and the menswear collection. Of course, there were tiny little details like the asymmetric ties that were kind of like used as like these necklace accessories. In the last show, they had platform horsebit loafers. In this collection, instead, they have creeper loafers, horsebit loafers, which is also like a different touch. And there were different things that were different. Like in this show, they have these really interesting gloves that end, they don't even go all the way to your wrist. I really like those. Those were kind of interesting. And they look kind of different to just the normal gloves that everyone designs. So yeah, very, very interesting. But I think that is the main reason why I really, really prefer this collection over the women's wear collection. But yeah, I've gone on for long enough. What do you think, Dami?
I don't necessarily have a preference between this one and the women's wear show, to be honest. I'm concerning myself with the overall direction just as of now. Like, I wanted to collect more context within what he's doing, and I do agree with you that he does have a hand or an eye for menswear more than he would necessarily have for women's wear. And the women's wear, especially when it first happened, like the top of last year, I wasn't a major fan of it. I wasn't a major fan of the look. Like there was a numerous things, right, that I wasn't a major fan of. However, when now I'm seeing them in different stages, it's now telling more of a story in terms of what he values, especially what he values in menswear. And one thing that I can say though is that as much as he has this aesthetic or even design direction, right? I don't really like using the word aesthetic anymore, but just as design direction that has the values of, tailoring and the values of silhouette and also being able to use patterns, even though it's like scarcely or it's sparse in areas. He's also he's not shying away from it, right? So he's got a full
Mm-hmm.
monogram suit and all of these other things. So he will use it. It's just that the way he's using it allows for more breathing room for a different type of clientele, and it's involving
Mm.
more people, right? And then also because I wanted to like really dig down into the point I made earlier, I actually went side by side on the Bottega and the Gucci shows and really just compared and contrasted some of the silhouettes, especially with the jackets, right? And he has a very distinctive look when it comes to him building a jacket and creating something that he values in that
Mm-hmm.
light for menswear. So
Yeah.
what I'm noticing, and to be honest, like what I see here and what I enjoyed watching the most from the show is just the jackets and the detailing. Like you go on the website as well, and you can see like just the level of detail that he applied. Like even with the puffers and the embellishments on them and the monogram suit. Those particular type of things are they're just they have a level of care and value, especially when it comes to designing for men that
Right.
I'm quite endeared to because there is there's been a certain theme recently in fashion where it's like you can just put anything on anybody and some things
Oh
are
my
built
God.
for
We need to
different.
talk about that. We need to talk about that. So
Yeah.
so the thing about that is that even though anyone can wear a suit or anyone can wear a blazer,
Mm,
and this is something that I've thought about a lot because in my last Patreon episode I was talking about Armani, and like in the process of doing that I was like
yeah.
reading up on a lot of his work and stuff, and like just to use Armani as like an example, one of the reasons why Armani became popular was because he saw a gap in the market. He realized that there's like the type of man that has his tailor and will go to the tailor and has that symbiotic relationship with the tailor. Um, and so he doesn't really need help because he has his tailor. He's always going to have bespoke, suits that fit him properly. But then there was a massive gap between that guy and then what you see off the rack, which was horrible in his words. Like
Mm,
everything was just so ill fitting. So he was like, why don't I try to create a silhouette that works really well on most men and is a lot better than the options that are already out there, right?
yeah.
And that's why so many people started buying his clothes because it was like you didn't have to think about it. It just kind of just fit really, really nicely. And the problem is when you take those kind of considerations out of it and just say, yeah, anyone can wear anything or whatever, you need to remember that men on average have broader shoulders. This is just like biology. Um, so if you're going to design a more menswear leaning, let's say, blazer, obviously the shoulders are going to be broader than you would if it was a blazer for women, right? On average. And even though, yes, you can design like a blazer that, you know, doesn't necessarily have to go through those considerations, and that would be considered more avant-garde than the normal process of just making a suit that like fits perfectly on your body like a glove. That being said, these considerations are things that we have to mention. I think now we've fallen into the realm of fashion where it's like these things don't mean anything. It's just like anyone wear anything, and that's where like fit starts to become an issue.
Mm. And I've noticed that, especially when it comes to younger clientele or just consumers in general, that's where oversize comes into play. And I do have this like adage, which is oversized and too big are different things. So there is an oversized for someone who is a small, and then there is an oversized for someone who's a large. Someone who's wearing a small that puts on a large, the sleeves are just too long. What happens when you are making oversized is that there are certain considerations that are made for the armhole and the taper of the arm, and then that's what makes it oversized, as well as like obviously the chest measurements and so on and so forth, right? But when you're
100%.
buying a large, you are buying something that is ill fitting, and it can look clunky depending on how you style it. And it's not just anything that you can put on that isn't made for you. Like obviously you see some celebrities wear oversized fits, but these celebrities have the resources and the power to make it look great because they're on a red carpet and there's going to be 1,000 pictures of them as soon as they jump out of the car. So there are different things that we have to think about when we are actually billing this sentiment. So, but when it comes to suits, like as you know, like I'm working in suiting now, and I'm working with particular clientele, and just seeing that there is a level of disdain to caring about for people caring about, or the general fashion audience, funnily enough, right? People caring about, this is menswear. Like when you go into like just a tailor, an atelier, or like a suiting shop, you know that the clientele somewhat cares about a suit.
Right.
What they're apprehensive about is them not knowing what they can wear, and then that's where the consultation comes into play and actually delving in that styling journey. So it's not, so when you're working, or at least when I'm doing my work, it's not just some sort of I can sell any old person any old suit. No, it's like there are certain considerations that are taken into play, and these suits are bought for work, celebrations, and you know, important occasions, and these people want to look their best. And what I know is that as much as there's a gap between the knowledge, there's the same understanding that, yo, I care about looking good in this thing, not that I can just fling anything on. And that is kind of what happens in quotes high fashion, right? And for me personally, I don't take that lightly. And the conversation of what is menswear and what is masculinity has been like quite pervasive over the years. And really, I'm seeing more of men kind of billing in the opposite direction, where it's like, okay, more men like workwear, and then that workwear trend kind of evolved into men being able to have fitted things that are like tailored to their specifications. So like when people wear Carhartt, they're wearing something that's direct and cut in a certain particular type of way, as well as all the other like all terrain gears like Arc'teryx and so and those and things of that nature. So yeah, like for me personally, I'm seeing a trend now. Like it's a smaller trend, but a trend now of men caring about just sartorial excellence, which is appreciated by me.
Yeah, I mean, there is definitely a comeback in terms of that. Also, something about this collection that I really enjoyed was it almost felt like Sabato was posing similar questions to the ones that Alessandro Michele posed with his first two collections at Gucci. And it's kind of like this idea of what is masculinity, what is considered masculine. I mean, a lot of the pieces in this collection were like bedazzled, and we had these like tote bag sized Jackie bags, but they still look like women's bags, which was interesting because they're the kind of bags that the random person on the street, if you wear them, they'll think you're wearing a woman's bag, which is not normally typical. I think Fendi is one of the other brands that does kind of women's wear looking bags for men, which I do find kind of interesting because it challenges people's notions of, at the end of the day, it's just a bag. But for some reason, people see or associate those things with like feminine connotations, which I find really hilarious. There was like this thread that I was reading of just like people going mad that Gucci is feminizing clothing, and I was just dying reading it. It's like all this stuff. Stop the constant attempts of feminizing men. There will come a day when you need real men who were taught what are apparently the old ways, who know how to do more than make emails and expensive coffee.
That is funny. That is actually funny.
It's quite crazy
Yo.
how offended people get over like bags. It's like it's just a bag.
Someone was getting offended over a bag.
You just wear it over your shoulder, and if you need to put things in it, you put it in there. And then when you need them, you open the bag and you take them out. There's nothing feminine about that.
Yeah. Plus, we have pockets. Like, if you're wearing a suit, you have like 6 pockets.
Yeah.
So, like, this. Yeah, no.
So I thought that was
like,
really interesting, though, because if you think of like Alessandro's first 2 collections, it was very androgynous, and it was like very like the pussy bow blouses and like pieces like that, and like even the models, like you couldn't really tell. Also,
yeah,
it's all really interesting.
Like, what I learned about Sarno is that he enjoys partying. He enjoys partying. Like, there's this story in the article where it's like he was in the offices, right, and like nobody came to see him, and he didn't like that, so he like decided to throw a party, and then he was the most drunk and was dancing the most in the party, right? And you know, he also speaks about, you know, being in the gay scene and like going from where he was, I believe was in Rome, to like, you know, the hyped up gay scene elsewhere, and just how much that drastically changed his life, like especially like being with Pier Paolo, and you know, Pier Paolo giving him the blessing, so like all of the good stuff, right? What I understand is that it's not that there are questions about what is masculinity, is that masculinity is being more inclusive to other people that are men, right? And just because you're wearing a suit, that is not like a, you know, that's not a mark saying that you're more masculine than a guy that's wearing a t-shirt or a hoodie, right? And that's the same thing where it's like, just because you're wearing a vest doesn't mean that you're more masculine than someone say so, all of these things. And like where he's got the like the singlet or the vest, right, with the necktie and everything like that, that's a throwback to even the Bohemians and the way that they like to dress back in the 90s and the late 80s, right? So it, in my eyes, it seemed like a nod to Michele, but at the same time, what I see now with the girls that are dressing like that, and some of the guys as well, is that that is a nod to the party scene. That is what that's what people wear. Like when you go outside, that's what you see people wear in the party scene, and it's quite cool, to be honest. Like, so it's like that that inclusivity of what men will actually wear and what men will actually dress like. Because I in the beginning, I never saw the need to have the questions. I saw the need to be more inclusive of what other men, or should I say, what men as a consensus decided what was masculine. And I thought that was the more important question, or the more important way to frame this conversation.
No, I totally agree. And I think it's kind of crazy that we kind of still have to have these conversations about masculinity. And like people tying masculinity to very, 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 very specific things. I find it really odd that we kind of still have to have that conversation, down to like, because I don't even see, even if I was to try and think like people that had an issue with this collection in terms of it feminizing men, crazy. But even if I was to try and think how they think, there's nothing when I look at this collection that I'm like, okay, that looks feminine to me anyway. So I don't even know where it comes from.
And the shape of a bag is not like, that's not femininity at all.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
Like, that's the other thing. That's like like the most simple one is that the shape of the bag does not make you feminine. I'll be wrong.
It's a big Jackie bag. I mean, it is mad interesting though. I mean, I get comments every day where I might say something about fashion, and then people have found like my channel for the first time, and they're like, gay men like you will not dictate how fashion works. And it's like, bro, so because I'm talking about fashion, you automatically pigeonholed me into a certain sexuality. But it's like, that's how I think backwards the conversation is, or how behind the conversation is in like wider society when it comes to masculinity. It is quite crazy.
No, for sure. This the conversation is that it hasn't evolved much, and I guess like because we're almost creeping on 10 years on like since like wanted to talk about fashion. Like I don't know about you, but like 2016, 2017, like well, I'm knocking on the corner, bro. Like so, it's like yeah, that's a wow. So
Yeah.
I find it like intriguing that there are people that are laggards, is the way that I'm gonna pose it, right? They're the laggards in terms of, oh, you haven't yet caught up to where the conversation actually is, because whereas what we're seeing now is more inclusivity and what men actually are. So like people trying, I guess, just trying to be less homophobic. I'm not gonna say that people are less homophobic, but trying, like appearing to be, right? Maybe some people are doing better than others, but there's that, and it's now more of a it's there's more of a field of thought where it's like, you know, there are people who are come from all different walks of life that are sharing in the conversation in terms of what would men like to dress like. So like
Right.
like in the same singular day you can see, you know, the looks people are wearing in China, then you can see the looks people are wearing in Japan, then you can see the looks that people are wearing in Bosnia, you can see the and all over the world, South America, like, you know, South Africa, Nigeria, like there's Brazil, everything. So you get to see that all in the space of one day. So it kind of, in a sense, creates certain consensuses, right? And how men like to dress, and like even the way that our influence is like, right? So I saw an uptick of people, of men wanting to wear more ties when the Oppenheimer film came out. Because if you watch Oppenheimer, those suits were immaculate. These men were wearing the most tasteful suits that I've seen in a movie in quite some time. And there's a TV show coming out called Gentleman, which is probably going to have the same effect. So I'm quite intrigued into how that stuff is going to evolve, and so on and so forth, right? But the way that the conversation is that's where we are. But then we have the laggards where it's like, oh, you know, you're gonna assume someone's sexuality or gender, like all of these other things, because, you know, they're talking about fashion, or, you know, they like this or they like that, and then yeah, and they're supporting their friends or whatever it is, right? Like there's been many times where I've supported my friends that just look differently than everyone else, and then and people are like, "Oh wait, are you? You know, I thought you were," and it's like, "Don't worry about it, man. It's cool." Like I get all the time. Like I can't even. Yeah, it's calm, man. Shit like that.
Yeah, what do you think about Gucci pushing a specific color of red? It seems like I kind of call it the Daniel Lee effect, where ever since Bottega Green became a hit, everyone is trying to have their color. Like Valentino have kind of almost successfully gotten like that pink shade as like their signature color. Daniel Lee at Burberry right now is trying to give us Burberry blue. I'm not sure if that has stuck yet. And then Gucci are giving us a certain sort of like reddish color. Do you think these things are going to stick?
Can we get up the red, please, quick?
Oh yeah, of course.
This particular red, no. And I'll tell you why. Let's
This
just get
shade
it.
of
It's
red
like,
or this
is it
shade.
the burgundy or is it that red?
Yeah, it's kind
Oh,
of
it's the
like in
wine.
between burgundy and
Yeah,
yeah, it's like wine-ish.
yeah. So this particular red is so in season right now. It's not even funny. In fact, I actually have a vintage jacket. I don't know if anyone can see it. Right, there we go. and it's looking more red here than it does like on the
Ox
camera than
blood.
it
So
does.
that's I
Yes.
like that. Ox blood.
So that red is in season. So maybe we'll see it more. However, you can't necessarily own something when it's in season. The reason why Bottega Green was so powerful is because nobody was wearing that green during that time. People are wearing wine, burgundy, Ferrari red, and oxblood all in the same season, right? So there's so many different types of red that are already in vogue. Think of this. It's like I'm reading a book about color, but there's so many different reds that are in vogue that it's kind of hard to capture this particular red, especially when red means so many different things to so many different cultures. So it's one of those ones where he can push a red and he can stick to it and he can make it thematic with Gucci. But for there to be a Gucci red, like there already is, but for there to be like this being his signature would be quite
Yeah, I mean
hard
the Gucci red is the red in the gross grain, no?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's like the red between the two greens. So it's like and obviously like he blew it up and just kept it red because like if you saw this with like let's say this jacket,
I mean it's huge. Like if you look at the Gucci campaigns, they focus on that color a lot too.
Yeah. Let me just because I was literally about to say because I was like there are ways to do it that make it look Gucci, but then there is this way that he's doing it that makes it look like I can possibly get this jacket from somewhere else. Because there is like what makes this jacket Gucci? Like what makes it recognizable as a Gucci jacket? And I'm not talking about
my what I would say is that what makes it Gucci, at least now, is that this is the minimalistic tailoring that Sabato is pushing with his vision of Gucci. So that's what makes it Gucci. I think that maybe 6 or more seasons from now, we'll actually associate that look as a very Gucci look, especially with the color, if they go with the color further.
Yeah, like so, like you're saying, we'd have to be quite far removed for from this color being in vogue to it not being in vogue and people still wearing it because they want to wear a red jacket that looks like Gucci. Because there's a lot of people now are buying and wearing and selling vintage leather jackets, and everybody wants a leather jacket right now. But can you sell this particular item when it's not in vogue? Because the way that people are wearing the Bottega Green, when it's like, oh wait, this green is quite, because like once you wear that particular green, it's a statement. But this one is kind of like, it's kind of out the way. Like it's not necessarily saying it's like so showy, but like for real, if you're wearing a red jacket, you're probably gonna be one of the only people wearing this particular type of red in like your local area. So it's like it's quite interesting, unless you're like in a super duper metropolitan area. But yeah, no, like him pushing this, like I would like to see it, like you're saying, 6 seasons from now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Just kind of like, I brought it up as like a case study just to see like if this is something that sticks over the course of like many more seasons, and then it becomes something that we just naturally associate with Gucci, the same way that when Alessandro was at Gucci, those pussy bow blouses were just like, oh, that looks really Gucci. Anytime you see someone wearing that kind of aesthetic, and even if it wasn't by Gucci, we would still say it's a Gucci look, because a lot of like Alessandro stuff you could get in a thrift store and kind of style it. But it would be like, oh yeah, that's like a Gucci look kind of thing. So it'll be very interesting to know that. But yeah, I think all in all, I really like this collection. I love that there's a clear focus on craft. I mean, I'm the person that's the ultimate skeptic on fashion brands, prices going astronomically up at scary numbers at the same time the quality going down. So to see a designer who came in with a clear focus on craftsmanship. I commend that highly. And yeah, I was just a really big fan of this collection. I really enjoyed watching it, going through it, looking at the looks, looking at kind of his thought process when he was making it. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, so my overall thoughts is like it was a good collection. It was good. I don't think it would be the best collection. I'm still not sold on it being the best direction for Gucci. But you know, who am I? Like, what's my opinion for real? For real? Like, he's literally been working for 20 years. But that doesn't mean that someone
I get
is
what you're
going to
saying.
be a great creative director.
Yeah, you had a good point, because especially when you're saying in the context of Kering, it's kind of like if you have two brands fighting for the same market share, there is an issue that could arise there. That's a very strong point. I think actually to end, something that I thought was you know, those like sparkly bedazzled looks, they for some weird reason reminded me of Adi Slimane, because Ali Saman used to have like rock and roll kind of chic clothes that kind of look like I'd say the big difference is that because Sabato's silhouette is a bit more loose fitting and like wider, which is kind of where tailoring is going in general. If you look at like Alessandro Sartori, he talks about this all the time with Xenia and like how tailoring in general for menswear is becoming more relaxed. So you can kind of see this with the silhouette of this vest. If Hadi Samon did it, it would be so tight and so skinny that if you're not a stick, you wouldn't be able to fit in it. I'd say that's like the big difference in terms of how Adi Samon would do the same thing. But it just reminded me of the kind of thing he would make.
Oh yeah. So to round off, it's like I'm not sold on this being the best direction for Gucci, but at the same time, I do actually like him, and I like his brazenness as well. Because you know, when I was talking the other year, wow, it's actually a couple of years ago. I've been talking about how Kering creative directors don't talk as much, and you know, I liked seeing him talk. So, you know, I'm endeared to the fact that he's in the spotlight and he's gonna do something about it. So yeah, like I like him. I do want him to succeed, but at the same time, if this isn't the direction for Gucci, will he switch up? That's my last question. So
yeah. Okay, that's interesting. I think next we're going to move on to Fendi for Winter 24 menswear. As you guys know, because I talk about her all the time, but the artistic director of accessories and menswear collection at Fendi, menswear collections at Fendi is Silvia Venturini Fendi. She's been at Fendi forever. She's the last standing actual Fendi that works at the brand. And she's been involved in designing some of the most iconic accessories for the brand, as everyone knows, like the baguette bag, the peekaboo bag, the list goes on. A lot of the new bags too, Fendi sort of brings about every single season. Even in this season, we saw a new bag as well called the Siesta bag, which kind of looks like a pillow. And I thought that's such a good name for a bag that is shaped kind of like a pillow. I wonder what the practicality of it is. If like you just, not that you would, because if you can afford a Fendi Siesta bag, you probably have a villa everywhere in the world. You don't need to, you know, slightly stop somewhere and rest your head on your Siesta bag and get a little nap. That's probably not, those are not the issues that you have. But yeah, I thought it was a really good name. And yeah, I'm just a big fan of her work. I always have been. I'm a big fan of all the accessories she designs. I really do enjoy her menswear collections. And I did enjoy the women's wear collections that she designed. And I talk about this all the time, so I won't do it again. But for guys that don't know, Sylvia was the interim head of women's wear as well when Karl Lagerfeld passed. So before Kim Jones took over at Fendi, she designed a few collections in the interim. And I just thought all of those collections are really nice. So yeah, big fan of her work.
You love telling that story, by the way.
No, I know. That's why I was like, let me speed past it this time.
You love.
I always say how much I love those collections. It's like a broken record.
I swear, Maybe someone's new though. Maybe they don't know. So yeah, that's fine. But I'm literally like,
No, because
if you're
there's
I've
new
heard this,
people.
like 10 times already. Like,
There's new people to the channel all the
Translation.
time. It's so strange because there's new people to the channel all the time, and sometimes I feel like I answer the same questions constantly. But hey, there we go. That's the little thing for the new people in the live stream.
And for those who don't know, I love Kim Jones. So yeah, like Kim Jones could do no wrong.
Yeah, Dammy is a big fan of Kim Jones.
So yeah, no.
But yeah, do you know what's weird about Silvia though? I think that genuinely, I think that she's one of the most consistent designers in fashion, but she flies under the radar. Like, we don't really talk about Silvia Venturini Fendi for the most part in fashion. I don't know why that is. Every time we're talking about, designers in the zeitgeist, we talk about the likes of Demna Vesalia. Now we do talk about Sabato quite a bit. We talk about Adi Slimane. We talk about Phoebe Philo. Silvia is never a name. Yeah, Daniel Roseberry, Kim Jones. Silvia is not a name that really enters there, but I genuinely think she's one of the most consistent creative directors in fashion, especially with accessories. My word, she's consistent.
Yeah, her accessories have, like, in this season as well, they've just been, she went ham, or they went ham. Whoever the person was.
Sylvia proves some nepos are good. Yeah, I think the difference between Sylvia and a lot of nepos, though, is Sylvia actually took time out to learn the craft, whereas a lot of nepo kids just kind of get given like roles or get shoved into positions that they have no business being in because they're not qualified. Like, if they want a nepo kid, they don't have the qualifications to do that job, but because they're nepo kid, they do. Sylvia's a bit different to that, though. Sylvia's an actual extremely skilled designer in her own right. Very different to the usual nepo kids. So yeah, Sylvia does prove that nepo babies are really good sometimes.
No, but if you got the family name, yeah, cool. Because I've not seen someone named Vuitton do, you know what I'm saying? I've not seen.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
That's fine. Because there's nepo babies like, never mind. There's nepo babies like Anna Wintour, and then there's nepo babies like Sylvia. So there's a difference.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But I'd still say Anna Wintour, there's certain things that I think, okay, maybe she didn't do too well in fashion, but I still think Anna Wintour's an example of a good nepo baby there, in terms of, like, ultimately she did turn Vogue into like a whole machine that makes tons of money and works in the 21st century, and she ushered it into the 21st century perfectly and blah blah blah.
She did.
I would still say she's an example of someone that is a nepo kid, okay, cool, but really talented and good at what she does.
Yeah.
Whether I agree with everything she says or all her decisions, no, but I think she's still a good example of a nepo baby that knows what she's doing.
I was only saying there's nepo babies with the name of the company, and there's nepo babies without the name of the company. That's what I was saying. Not whether they were good or bad, to be fair.
Yeah.
But the collection.
Yeah, what did you think of the collection? I think what I might do, I might read the show notes. The show notes are quite long, so I'm going to play the runway show in the background. But I think the show notes actually just tell you everything you need to know about the collection. The fact that, this collection was inspired by the greater outdoors. That's why you have a lot of, themes of, you have things like, there are a lot of wax jackets in the collection. I'm not sure how many people know why people wear wax jackets in the greater outdoors, but kind of like quick history lesson. You have these brands like Barber that use wax jackets and are known for that. Wax jackets are actually really waterproof and windproof, but they're yet breathable and light. So those are the properties in which why wax jackets are used a lot for the greater outdoors. All the best properties if you're spending a lot of time at the mercy of the elements, as techwear boys like to say. And they're also, more importantly, because there are some fabrics that are more breathable and waterproof than wax jackets, like Gore-Tex, for example. But the problem with jackets made out of Gore-Tex is they're not as scratch and abrasion resistant as the wax jackets, which is why if you're going to be around a lot of trees, there might be sharp things that might scratch your jacket. Wax jacket's actually more suitable. So it really depends. So just a quick lesson there. And then there were so many like other things, like odes to other things to do with like the greater outdoors and just, utility. And in interviews, she has said that a lot of her collections, as far as menswear go, are about utility. They are about these things. The last menswear collection, we actually saw like her referencing like workwear and like the tools that men use. And there was like this Fendi work box and toolbox and all that sort of stuff. So this is kind of a continuation of that last show with kind of similar ideas. That's why in this collection you see like boat shoes, once again, kind of history lesson. I'm not sure how many people know, but boat shoes were invented because the person that I've forgotten his name off the top of my head, but the person that invented boat shoes basically was a sailor and he slipped on his deck. So he then decided to invent a pair of shoes with rubber soles that have better traction on the deck of a boat. So that's why they're called boat shoes. That's why they're actually very utilitarian. Even things in the collection like bucket hats. Also, bucket hats are things that were worn initially by like Irish fishermen and farmers to help protect them from the rain and to make sure rain doesn't get in their eyes. So yeah, that was kind of like the theme of the collection. Like I said, I will read the show notes because they give all the context that you need all at once in the show notes, and they are kind of long. And I don't want it to be boring, so you guys can watch the show as I ramble on. But anyway, Dami, what are your thoughts?
Okay, so first things first, it's very, very, very grey, right? Well, let's use the fashion terms because you know how I like to be inflammatory. So the palette is muted, right? And I like the way that the theme, the way that the conversation that we had has now bled into what Fendi is doing because we're talking about workwear, we're talking about technology, we're talking about what men wear, right? And when it comes to, in quotes, the great outdoors, one trend that I've been seeing outside of this is that there's a massive trend, especially amongst the rich, of going outside and exploring and seeing the great outdoors, not just backpacking, but living like you're working class, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there are certain ways and certain things that people like to do. So she kind like it's still within the stealth wealth category or the quiet luxury category, but then she took it a step further and then invented a kind of play on what would be the explorative person that Fendi is. Because let's be honest, like if I'm wearing Fendi personally, I'm still a city person, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily care about going exploring the great outdoors. However, it's nice to have the fantasy there, right? But when it comes to looking at the silhouettes, looking at the cuts, and the collaborations as well, right? Before I go to silhouettes and cuts, the collaborations. So there's
Yeah,
DVLF,
that's an
which is
interesting collaborations.
on the runway. So state of the art Fendi X DVLF. I hope I'm saying that right. Mania portable speaker wrapped in an FS
Yeah,
case,
DVLA.
and yeah, DVA. All right, cool. Yeah, and then and it's all of that stuff, and then there's Mad Architects, right? And then they made the shoes. So there's what's it called? Marco
And
Architects, founding
the
partner.
peekaboo bags.
Mas no Yan Song. That's I don't know why
Yeah,
I
my
thought
young song.
I don't know why I thought myself saying that, but yeah, like and all of that stuff. So they made the sneakers, they made the peekaboo bag, great. So it was like one of these things in terms of when you look at that. So that's the lunchbox, that's a shoe, and personally, speakers is very modern. However, when it comes to the men in particular, that this collection is emulating, there are certain things that you want, right? So you want something that's waterproof, you want something that wicks sweat, you want something that's made out of great wool, you want something that's made out of that's got great technology within it. And in terms of all of these things when it comes to making the, let's say, the herringbone, the poppy tooth, the twill, so the twill type of fabric, and just all of the things that allow great suiting or menswear to be menswear. Those little details is in there, and in quotes, it can be considered luxurious because someone has taken the time to detail it in that way. And that's one of the
Mm-hmm.
main things that I want. One of my main points is that they have made the act of using the right materials luxury
Mm-hmm.
again. Because when you go to the high street version of all of these things, they look the part.
But
Like if
they
you go
don't
to
have
Zara,
the
they don't
yeah.
have it. They're not really waxed like that. They don't actually, they're not made like
They
that.
don't have
And
the wax. They don't have the Gore-Tex. They don't have
they don't have any of that type of stuff,
the
right?
aesthetic without the utility.
Exactly. So it's all appeal and no reality. And this is delivering in part, not just now the vision, like I was talking about earlier, or the aspiration, but now it's like it's delivering the reality in terms of what luxury actually is, in terms of I can have a great quality thing that looks exactly the way it's supposed to be made, because she is emulating what the lives of these men that like to explore the great outdoors. And I see it quite frequently now, like with my friends that are of a different ilk, that
Yeah.
they're climbing the mountains in Scotland. They're going to just patrol a forest, like just go around in the forest, wear Wellington boots, and kick up some mud and do all of these things. They're gonna go fishing and do all of these things. So like having these people emulate those people, and then go in and then Sylvia just discerning that, which is
Mm.
mad in and of itself, because this is such a small sector of men, and like, well, men and women, but it's such a small sector of men considering we're talking about menswear. It's like, it's interesting that she picked up on that. And
Yeah, I
it's
think. Do
quite,
you know what's
yeah.
actually interesting? Also, is that it's in some respects is fantasy because part of it is very technical and it is actually very utilitarian, but then some of it is like, for example, some of the Wellington shaped boots actually made with leather, because obviously
Yeah.
Fendi is still about leather craftsmanship and things like that. And since they can't really use real fur anymore, they've gone away from that. So now there's just a bigger focus on the leather. Leather is not the best material to use for a Wellington boot if you're actually going to be wearing that to climb mountains or to be in the Scottish
No.
Highlands, right? But it's a mixture of, okay, this is for utility, and then also using utility as a reference for aesthetic in terms of,
Yeah.
let's say, still making Wellington boots because it's an ode to utility, but then using fur, fake fur, or then using, leather, which are not materials that are actually the best for those things.
Yeah. So it's like and just to wrap up, the characters and now deliver in terms of design, because I actually really do enjoy the collection, like just visually, right? And just the way that the men are wearing like the clothes and the aesthetic in and of itself is something that I'm appealed to. And you've got the red, see, look at the red jacket right there. The red jacket in that's very in season right now is like
Mm-hmm.
it was just one of those things in it. So it's like you kind of have to have, but everything is great. Well, I can talk about the silhouette and the cut afterwards, but yeah, what did you think though?
No, it's interesting. Even like, I think in the show notes, I said I was going to read the show notes, but then in second thoughts, maybe not, because Jesus. Um, when I clip it and I edit it, what I'll do is I'll put the show notes on the screen for people to pause and read, and then you'll have all the information you need there. But basically, in the show notes, there was an ode to the fact that the greater outdoors in the UK is kind of like associated with like the Scottish Highlands and stuff like that. So that's why you have a lot of the prints being tartan, for example. It's a reference to that too. So it is kind of interesting because I think she's kind of followed the same theme for a few seasons in terms of this focus on utility, but she's doing them in such different ways. Like I said, the last one was about workwear mainly, which was kind of interesting. So yeah, all in all, it's really interesting. The collabs are really, really nice. I think when it comes to Silvia Venturini Fendi's menswear collections, I look at the accessories specifically a lot too, because that is her specialty. And that is kind of what a lot of people look to her for doing. Obviously, those are like some close-ups of the speakers. But yeah, it's the bags were just sensational. The siesta bag is really interesting. I think it's almost like, it's nice, but it's huge. It's like, geez, imagine like carrying that around like that all day long.
Yeah.
Your arms would hurt.
Yeah, like one thing that I liked is like, well, this is the thing. I've highly focused on the utility aspect, but then there's also the casual day-to-day aspect of the guy that lives in Abergavenny, that is, you know, there's a little bit of an altitude over there, and they want to look stylish, they're chill and all of these other things, right? And then you got the cardigans, you got the crop sweaters, you've got the, like, what's it, Bermuda trousers with the way, oh, that's even the look that I was looking at, the Bermuda trousers, all of these other things. It was, and like the long shorts, I find that to be valuable, especially when you were talking about the way that she's transformed it and turned it in a way. Yeah, like I was really intrigued by that, honestly.
Yeah, it's it's just interesting. I mean, like I said, it's a mixture of utility for actual utility's sake, and then a mixture of using our understanding of associations with utility. Like, oh, Wellington boots are worn by farmers, or people wear Wellington boots because they don't want their feet to be wet, but then she's making them in leather and like fur, and your feet are just gonna get wet, or your leather's gonna get destroyed.
Yeah. Or it's gonna get nasty, depending on what type of leather.
Which shows that it's utility aesthetic. Well, not all of it, because some of it is actually functional, but some of it is like utility aesthetic for the stylish person who, like, because if you think of who is the Fendi customer, they're most likely not wearing Fendi to, climb the French Alps or whatever, to go on expeditions on the French Alps. So she's kind of still designing for the customer base of Fendi, while still being able to reference certain things, which I find more interesting.
Shout out to the scammers, though. Yeah, because I
Shout
wonder
out to
what
the
they're
what?
gonna do. The scammers. I wonder what they're gonna do when they find out they don't have the, Fendi shirt with Fendi all over it, fam. F is for fraud in their balls. But yeah. Like Pastor Kobe. F is for fraud. But no, man. Shout out to Silvia. But yeah. Like,
guys in the chat, what did you guys think about the collection? We're still because we're gonna look at close-ups, because really that's where you're gonna get a sense of the accessories, because I really want to show you guys the accessories, because that is Sylvia's like specialty.
Some of these guys are dressing like grannies as well. Or should I say, some of them are styled like grannies, which is something interesting that I found in the collection.
Also, Gail Mibson brought up a really strong point about one of the reasons people don't like wearing wax jackets is because they smell terrible. That's definitely true. You have to care for wax jackets with a bit more care, than normal jackets, because the wax, does get stinky very fast.
Yeah, you can't air it out the same way. So yeah, which is interesting. But yeah, are we calling it the pillow bag now? That's jokes.
Yeah, the siesta bags.
I thought it was called a siesta bag because, like, if you were at a party or a rave and you had that bag, you can just sleep on it, and then between 2:30 and have a quick nap, and then you carry on with your siesta. That bag. So yeah, that's what I call it.
If you sleep on a siesta bag, it's gonna get stolen. Don't forget how much the siesta bag costs.
That's jokes.
You're gonna wake up with nothing on your head, just the hard floor.
I'm sure they reference some soil, some like sedimentary
So
rock.
I know you have to clean the inliner, but people have no time for that. Yeah. Like they're high maintenance. They're definitely high maintenance.
So no, like I'm looking at the designs, the cuts, because there are some looks where it's like there's guys dressed in like almost workwear, like fishermen or bowing type of stick, and then there's looks where guys are dressed like grannies and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
I find the contrast quite humorous actually, because even the collars are like sweaters that women in the 40s or is it the 60s? Women from the 40s, so women in the 60s used to wear. So yeah, no, I think it's quite cool.
Young Reparation said it does feel a bit elderly and not in a posh anyway. Interesting.
Wait, young reference.
Yeah, it's a very funny name. Yeah, these are some of the looks in collaboration with Mad.
Yeah, man.
So they did footwear and they also worked on a few like peekaboo design bags. So these are the designs. They're so cool. So cool. Like the bags are so interesting. And there were other like designs in the collection. Some in collaboration, some not in collaboration are also just as interesting. You have these like sling back backpacks. They've styled a certain way. Here are your siesta bags, aka the pillow bags. Someone say a Dyson collab. You have your tote bags with your fur Fendi coffee. You've got everything. You've even got the collaboration between DVLA and Fendi. They worked on making a Bluetooth portable speaker. It's funny because DVLA, they make some of the most expensive portable Bluetooth speakers on the market anyway. So I wonder how much it's going to cost now that there's a collaboration with Fendi. It's like luxury speakers meets luxury clothing meets a super, super unattainable price.
Yeah, you did say that you disliked when luxury meets luxury and it goes to an astronomical price. How much do you
Yeah,
think the LV grills are gonna be, if that's gonna
I
be
have
something?
no idea. Like, no idea. Too expensive. That's how much it's going
Yeah.
to be. We've got some fur baguette bags.
What type
No,
of
it's
fur?
just, well, it's not going to be raw fur, well, I'm guessing, because I feel like they've ditched that, no?
Yeah.
But yeah, the accessories, like bags like this.
Yeah, no, the accessories are hard, but that's not really saying much because Fendi Menswear's accessories are always hard, so it's kind of interesting.
Facts.
Sorry about
Let me
that.
just get
That's
some,
good.
let me just get some detailed
Yeah,
shots. Where do you think, let's say across the fashion market, where do you think Fendi sits?
menswear,
Yeah.
menswear. I think it's competing with Dunhill. That's funny. That's funny.
Really?
That's funny. Yeah, it's competing with all. Like, if you look at it, that's like it's competing with them. Like in terms of,
Dunhill?
yeah. Let me look at Dunhill again. Dunhill. I'm sure Dunhill. I saw Dunhill collection recently. I
But
saw they did
price
something that looks
point
like.
wise,
Oh
though,
no,
they
not price
are
point. Not price
very
point, bro.
okay. Because I was
Like,
like,
look, yeah,
if I'm
no,
thinking
no,
of the
no, no.
market,
They're luxury. They're like Fendi's luxury. It's not. It's not necessarily fashion, is it? It's not. It's
yeah.
not like I couldn't call treat Fendi like Dior, even though Dior is trying to get like compete with Chanel at this point.
Oh no,
Um,
100%. And that even goes down to like the heritage of what Fendi is anyway. It's just kind of like, once again, that's why the way I judge different brands is based on like what their target audience is and actually what they're going for. Because
yeah,
Fendi does have more of a focus on their luxury goods because that is what its focus is. It's not really more of a like fashion brand. More people care about Fendi luxury goods than they care about Fendi clothes, for example.
yeah,
But if you go to a brand like Balenciaga, people care just as much about the clothes as the accessories, even though the clothes might not sell as much as the accessories. But people
yeah,
talk about the clothes very deeply. And
yeah. The
that's
clothes are still
because if you think
aspirational.
of, yeah, and if you think of the heritage of the brand, it's because you have someone like Cristobal Balenciaga, who was a couturier, who was known for clothes, not anything else. So there's always going to be that understanding that, okay, when we look at Balenciaga, there's a focus on the clothing. And from the designers too, when they design, they think about that too.
Yeah. So like I'm looking at it and it's like because I'm looking at the Grey Outdoors collection, like pieces actually, because I'm looking particularly at those pieces, and I'm thinking about where they will sit. So I do see some Japanese consumers. I'd be forgetting the name of Japanese brands so much because they have some interesting names, to say the least. But yeah, some of these looks are reminiscent of that for me. So I do see like the East Asian market like kind of adopting this, and then when it comes to everything else, like especially like the workwear specifically, right? So, and then in terms of the accessories, I'm quite intrigued to see what guys buy the accessories. I actually think it's going to be finance bros. I actually think it's going to be done.
You think finance bros are going to buy these like especially intricate peekaboo bags?
Yes. Yes.
Interesting.
That's a lunchbox. That's first of all a lunchbox.
You said the peekaboo bag's a lunchbox.
Yes, yes. For man, like that size and that depth is a lunchbox. You put a sandwich in there and you put a little 250ml drink in there. You put your what's it called? You put your meal deal. You put your meal deal in that bag. That's
what
the
your little Tesco sandwich with a bottle of Coke and a pack of crisps, pack of Walkers.
Exactly, man. Yeah, man. Your tuna melt spin. Like that's what the bag is used for. But like
couple baby bells in there.
This bag is done, so I can only really see it like not only, but like where my brain
this bag I can see that this bag like the collab with Mad, especially this one that doesn't have like the yellow on it. I can 100% see like those kind of men wearing that.
Yeah, like I see it like the thing is it's not necessarily positioned. The accessories aren't positioned with the right type of clothes to capture the creative guys market, the rich ones anyways. So it's gonna be the stylish about wealthy ones. And the stylish but wealthy ones think about like the way the mind works is like they think about, oh, what's expensive, or should I say what's deemed luxury. And then when you look at let's say East Asian influencer, the quant guy is gonna look at the East Asian influencer, see them wearing the Fendi, and then go to the Fendi bags, and then see that, oh, I may not be able to dress like him, but I can get this bag, and that's just kind of how I imagine it'll go in. But I don't know whether I'm right.
No, I agree. Shout out to AZ. I'm a big fan of his YouTube channel, by the way. Everyone subscribe to AZ. He's like, I don't even know how to describe his channel because he talks about literally everything from fashion to like general news stories to everything. But it's like my guilty pleasure because he has like a messed up sleeping schedule similar to mine. So he's just out here live streaming at like 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning and then going to the gym after. And I'm like, damn, this guy's literally living on my schedule. But yeah, Pret chicken and avocado sub only.
Yes. Yeah. It's cheeky.
Very, very cheeky, mate. Very, very cheeky. But yeah, I think that's all there is to the Fendi show. The last show I wanted to talk about was MSGM. So we're just gonna go through that quickly. So for guys that don't know, MSGM is a brand that was founded by Massimo Giorgetti in 2009. He's still the creative director till now. The brand is kind of like very fun, at times very kitschy. Sometimes that means good things, sometimes not so much. And it is quite a hit or miss because it has this like playful lightheartedness to it. And sometimes that rubs people the wrong way and sometimes people enjoy it. Personally, I enjoy it for the most part. It's kind of like not everything in fashion can take itself so seriously. I do like this idea that, people are taking fashion a bit more fun. It kind of does remind me of Sané, even though they don't look the same aesthetically. Their aesthetics aren't really similar. Yeah, their aesthetics are not similar, but the spirit of the brands are kind of similar in a way. And with their latest collection, it was this love letter to Milan, even though they didn't describe it that way. That's just how I'm describing it. It was actually held in a tube station in Milan, a metro station called Porta Venezia. What's actually interesting is it's the 60th anniversary of it. And so a lot of the like motifs and designs in the collection were inspired by the curves of the handrail. So even like this look that you're looking at is how the curves on the handrails in Porta Venezia look. Let me see if I can get a picture on the screen so you guys know what I'm talking about.
It is on his Instagram page. And you just need to scroll down a little bit.
It's on his Instagram? Oh, I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Let's go, MSGM.
Let me put it on here. It's on Massimo Giorgetti, so go on there. Click
Massimo Giorgetti's.
Yeah, just click one of the images and then his name is right there. Yeah. There we go. Scroll down there.
Aha, yeah, this is it. So yeah, this is what the handrails actually look like outside the station. So he turned those into sort of motifs and prints for the brand. Kind of interesting, kind of like a fun way to celebrate the city. Like I said, it's a light-hearted brand. Not everything has to be like layers and layers and layers of books of references. Sometimes it's just like, yeah, I really love Milan. I go to the station every week, and so let me just make a print based off of the handrail that I normally see when I go to the station in Milan. Like, I do find it funny that recently we've had, you know, for better or for worse, designers disrupting people's everyday life, obviously shutting down a station to do the show. The same way we were talking about how Chanel shut down a whole street in Manchester and like paused the ecosystem of the city. But that aside, it is very interesting. Something I also find really interesting about this collection was that Google actually collaborated with MSGM on this collection. And for some strange reason, it was Google's first collab in fashion. That's what it says in their show notes. And I was like, really? Like, I would have thought Google would have been more involved in fashion to the point where they would have already collaborated, but apparently not. So they had essentially these pictures and prints that you'll see on, you know, on the set, on a lot of the garments that kind of look like these long exposure images that are AI generated, and they're based on images taken on a Google Pixel around Milan. So I thought that was kind of like a very interesting way to collaborate with Google. But yeah, I was more shocked that they actually haven't collaborated with any fashion brand till now. That's quite surprising to me.
They're too busy making billions. That's what happened.
Too busy making billions. Demi, what are your first thoughts on the collection before I continue to riff off?
Well, yeah, first thoughts. It was fun. It was vibrant. It has the striking colors. It also has the red that I was talking about. I love, and I'm able to connect something I was talking about earlier with something that's happening right in this present moment. So yeah, the red is there. It's vibrant. There's also the pattern that I appreciate. You know what I mean?
Right.
I always like a good pattern. And you know, the men seem stylish, right? And I know that's like kind of a weird thing to say, considering like they're literally all being styled. However, I'm noticing that, like, you know how we're talking about more inclusivity and more like phases of masculinity and all of these other things, like it's looks the same.
Oh, Dami, we're losing you, mate.
And for me, you're losing me.
Yeah, you're moving in like 1 frame per second, bro. It's 1 FPS right now. AZ said, I always feel like MSGM is similar to number 21, inconsistent, all over the place, inspiration-wise every season. Personally, not for me, a bit too Louisa Viroma coded, if that makes it. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It is all over the place, to be fair. That's why I said it's very hit or miss. It's like, because the inspiration points are so far, like one MSGM collection that always sticks in my mind is, I I remember when Massimo Giorgetti, I think, first got married or something like that, and Massimo was talking about how, you know, when he was younger, gay marriage wasn't allowed, so it was kind of like just bittersweet that like he could get married to who he wanted to get married to and all that sort of stuff, and the fact that he wanted that collection to kind of be inspired by his thought process around that. So it's kind of like a bridal collection, but the looks were so off key, like they were so off key. And that collection for some reason always sticks in my mind. But yeah, it is very hit or miss. But I did enjoy this collection though.
Where did I leave off at? Where did I leave off at?
You're talking about how you like Prince.
Oh yeah, so like I like Prince. And you know, there's like, wow, wait, that's where I left off at. Okay, I like that the way that these guys are styled, and I find it interesting when like, because we're talking about styling, right? Or should I say, I'm talking about styling, but everybody here is styled, and it's hard to really perceive yourself as someone in certain clothes if you don't see yourself reflected in. And MSGM, even though like there's a bunch of skinny guys here, there are quite a fair few of different looking men here also, and you know, some of them are not all the perfect 6 foot kind of character of what the model is, right? And I and even just the look, the way the hair is styled and everything like that, there are different characters for different looks, and that allows you to tell the story a little bit more. And I actually appreciate that in putting part of this collection also. So like that's something I like from younger brands, is that the playfulness as well, and you see it also within like the reference points. It's like he's taken something so ornate and like just so obscure and abstract, and just embellishing it to the point that is just so far out that, you know, 50 years if MSGM is still here, it's like, oh wow, I can't believe that they did this type of stuff. So it's like, you know, I appreciate that. I appreciate someone being able to take a tiny reference and blow it up.
Do you know what I did find really interesting about this collection? There was like an overarching theme of just everything seeming to move at a rapid pace. That was something that Massimo Giorgetti was saying when he was doing interviews about this collection. So that's why it's held in a train station. It's also why there was like a collaboration with like the Portuguese artist, I think, like Tiago Alexandre, with all these like graphics of like motorcycle helmets and like all these different artworks, right? And that's also a reference to like people, you know, ride their motorcycles really fast, or, you know, collaborating with Google and this concept that technology moves really fast as well. So it's almost like asking the question, like, things are moving too fast, do they need to slow down? And this is like a conversation we've had forever in fashion. If you think of, remember COVID, when people were saying, oh yeah, the fashion system needs to change, we need a revamp of the fashion system, everything's too fast. And the second COVID ended, everything reverted back to normal. It was almost like COVID didn't even happen. So it's like we've been asking this question constantly. And I like that Massimo is like continually asking this same exact question, like, do we need to slow things down? Do things need to slow down? And that was also a reference to, because in this collection, I'm not sure if you saw them, but they're kind of like these childlike themes, like these childlike shorts, these like white kind of surrealist looking socks, like these ballerina Mary Jane shoes. And that is all a reference to like just looking back and actually reflecting on the past and what has been, and slowing things down rather than thinking so fast and, you know, pushing full steam ahead and being like, you know, what's next? Let's move fast. What's next? And I really do like that was the overarching theme of the collection. I thought that was really, really interesting. And it definitely ties into the fact that it's held in a metro station.
Yeah. Like I first of all, that conversation that we were having during COVID, like I remember when I was like kind of adding more context to that conversation, because I actually thought people were being genuine about that. And then I realized that they wasn't being genuine. They were just saying what everybody wanted to say so that they could seem insightful, and they were just chatting. So that's when I learned in these conversations, even in the
Right.
sustainability conversation, people just like to chat. So just let them chat.
Mm.
Like I'm being the buzzkill actually in actually taking the conversation seriously. So like I heard so, but in terms of like actually valuing that and someone actually valuing that, because there is slowing down in fashion, and then there's the conversation slash the video that you had, which was you know afford shows.
Mm.
There are people out here that can't afford shows. There's a difference between slowing down and not being able to afford a show, right? So it's
Mm.
like that you're able to slow down in different ways depending on how you apply that to your philosophy.
Mm.
And it should be important to a designer to be able to live and be able to deliver a design slash deliver a sentiment consistently year in and year out. Even though it
Mm-hmm.
seems very, very fast, 2 times a year is very important for a designer, because, one collection can feed
You
you for
can you
six
can
months.
phase and you can phase out of relevance very quickly because so much
Very
happens.
quickly in 6 months. And it's sad, but at the same time, like, you're not the one buying the clothes. Like, if it's sad me saying it and it sounds harsh, it's like
Mm.
I'm not the one that can keep a whole designer afloat. It needs hundreds of thousands of people, right? So it's like, all right, then it's the designers, yeah, then there's a necessity to feel a slowdown or a pinch, or even like be able to breathe. But sometimes like this stuff is for survival, isn't it? So being
Mm.
able to do, and there's gratitude in being able to do 2 shows a year, because it is very, very difficult to do that as a designer. So in seeing some designs, like, and that's where like I don't necessarily give designers a hard time. I turn more into like I put my sometimes when I critique, because instead of like just giving all the things that I think are terrible, it's like there's also room to improve in this aspect, and so on and so forth. So it's like, and the ability, credit where credit is due, the ability to take such an obscure reference point and create a whole collection from it, even though like it doesn't permeate through every single look, like the
Mm-hmm.
little question mark thing. At least there's a try in terms of, oh, where was it placed, oh, what are the accessories that you have, what are the colors are you using, and all of these other things. So yeah, like that's my appreciation for that. Like, and yeah, shout out to MSGM.
Yeah, and when I was saying like even the playfulness, you can see it in like this
Mm.
campaign they shot at the same metro station. It's very, very playful, very, very like wacky but like fun images.
Mm.
Sustainability
Yeah,
conversation
man.
is basically dead. No one believes in recycling anymore. Yeah, I always ask that question about like, so something I always bring up is, do people actually care about sustainability? Because every time we come and have this conversation about sustainability and yada, 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 but then you see that Shein is one of the fastest growing brands in the world. So it's like, do we care about sustainability or do we not?
Mm. Mm.
We need to slow down. The Fashion Week calendar needs to change. Burnout is real. We need to look out for the mental health of these designers. Pure waffle. That's
No,
facts.
all of that was
It
waffle.
was waffle.
All of that was waffle.
That's
All of that
facts.
was
That's
waffle.
facts. It was waffle. Immediately, yeah, everything changed. And it's quite sad because it's almost Damn, I'm not sure. Have you watched Kingdom of Dreams? The documentary
Not
series?
finished. Not finished.
Oh, okay. Because when you watch it, obviously they talk about McQueen, like Alexander McQueen, and like John Galliano, and like Marc Jacobs, and like the more pressure there was on them as designers, the more you could see them just slowly self-destructing to the point where, like, unfortunately, McQueen like ended himself, and then you have um
Mm.
like John Galliano doing all the things that he did. You have Marc Jacobs literally going to rehab. Like you could literally see all this like pressure and the workload just being just insurmountable, ending up causing all of them to self-destruct one after the other. And it's just crazy that we know these things and COVID happened and we had those conversations, and like the second COVID ended, everyone's like, yep, we don't care about any of that.
The thing is, none of these people are going to pay these designers bills, because designers low-key make the most out of anyone innovative thing. However, that's only designers at conglomerates, because there are some journalists that are making more money than some designers out there. So like,
true.
So yeah, it's like, bro, like, what do you actually care about, and how do you want to change it? Like, unless the creative parties unionize, there's really no necessity in talking about it as if like you actually care. It's like, yeah, like it was.
It makes me think that people just say things because they want to seem like they're doing something good for the planet. Like when people say they're really passionate about sustainability, but then you see that Shein is like literally the fastest growing brand. It's just like, it's virtue signaling, isn't it? Signaling. Sorry, I got tongue tied. Can't even speak.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, that's kind of what it is.
No, like
it's kind of like it's kind of like it's like politics, right? It's like if you live online, that's why I say like online is not real life. If you live online, let's say before Trump became president, right? A lot of people online were saying Trump is crazy, Trump is this, Trump is that, Trump is that. So people that live perpetually online and they don't know how the average person thinks, they would have thought, yeah, there's no way Trump is winning. And then also maybe some people actually voted for Trump, but they just kept it to themselves because they don't want to be like cancelled or whatever. So then in private, they would vote for Trump, but then publicly they'll like say whatever they say. So that's why people are shocked when he becomes president. Like, oh my God, I never would have thought that could have happened.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a similar thing with sustainability. Like a lot of people say, oh, we care about sustainability. Oh, we this. Oh, we that. Oh, conscious spending. No overconsumption. But then, you know, how does that reflect on people's actual buying decisions, though? The proof is in the pudding.
Yeah. No, people are faking it, and maybe they meant well. Maybe it came from a nice, good place, but the reality is like arguing with me when I came with some logic was at the detriment, because 4 years later, I will still talk about it because I'm trying to figure out how to bring the business side, which is the manufacturing and distribution side, to the consumer side, because it's an update in technology in really completing the will, rather than, you know, like rich people meeting, flying their jets all over the world, do a meeting that is about sustainability when, you know,
I mean, sustainability, to be fair, because I think someone was saying that, what was someone saying? Someone said, I believe we do care about sustainability, it's just not as widely available to the public. Look at vegan leather. Okay, so the thing about vegan leather is that it's just a vague term. Vegan leather can be anything from pineapple leather, cactus leather, which is actually a lot better as an alternative, to very, very harmful plastics and very low quality plastics that peel very quickly. So it's a very broad term. It can mean anything, but a lot of brands leverage that to just sell you cheap plastics, basically. But what really stood out to me, do you know what I want to say? What stood out to me in terms of this sustainability conversation is at COP28, which is supposed to be the big, you know, climate change conference of the world, the president of it was some guy from Saudi Arabia who's like the president of like one of the biggest oil corporations in Saudi. And it's like, how is the president of a sustainability initiative someone that is part of one of the most polluting industries in the world? Like, that is the cognitive dissonance that exists when we have these conversations. So it's not even just about it being a niche thing. Even when we're looking at, the biggest conferences and stuff like that, and you look at who's the president, who are the top speakers, who are the keynote speakers, and it's like, how, like, is this a joke?
Yes, it's a joke. It's a joke to them, and this my thing, right? Okay, let's go off because I love sustainability like a lot, like. But first of all, vegan level, I don't even like that phrase because it's like 9 out of 10 times it's plastic and it's oil, right? And this the other thing that ties into COP28, right? Is that you need oil to be sustainable because it's either that or it's cobalt, which means people are being harmed in the Congo, or should I say in Congo. And it's like there is two evils. There's major evils out there that are just say evils. I'm being poetic, but out there that are people are trying to fight against. But when it comes to the nuts and bolts behind everything, it's like who is bringing these sustainability people that don't make billions to change an industry that's worth trillions? You need like like the space race, how that costs billions and billions of dollars. Or just I think it was 11 billion, something like that. It was something wild like that. These people, you have to pay the most like just remarkable minds on the planet to figure certain problems out. Like that's why the X Prize exists and certain prizes of that caliber is because to be able to be sustainable, you need the best minds, and the best minds demand a high ticket price, and that is very difficult. And it's not about in the real phase of it all, it's never going to be about influence. It's going to be about the people who have dedicated years, decades to thinking about how do I change this one energy source, or how do I change this one system so that I can help complete the revolution of sustainability. Like technically, what you're gonna have to do is change the manufacturing process because even though cotton is a plant, it still takes up a lot of water. So to refine cotton, it takes up a lot of water, a lot of chemicals, a lot of dyes, and all of these other things. And that's the same thing, like when it comes to linens as well. So people are just gonna have to
We've
not to
lost
dye
you,
their
mate. We've
clothes.
lost you. Oh, he's gone. He's gone. He's gone. He's disappeared. Where's he gone? Yeah, I'm just putting on the screen what I was talking about in terms of like COP28. Oh, is he back? Is he back? Is he back? Oh, he's back.
Oh, I'm back, yeah? All right, cool.
Yeah, you're back. You're
Chill.
back.
No. Like, I was watching on my screen to make sure that I wasn't gonna freeze as well. But anyways, it's better that I got cut off because I was about to go in. But I think it's important, the sustainability conversation, but it does need to be had by the right people because it's like it's a very expensive conversation to have. It's worth
Oh yeah,
doing.
super expensive because you need to put money into like research teams and people that are gonna. And the problem with like just science in general is science only develops if people want it to, because you need money for it to develop, which means that funding needs to go to developing certain things. So it comes down to what are the priorities of people with money. That's just basically what it always comes down to. So it's like if we want to cure, let's say, cancer or something, what if people cared more about curing cancer, then more people are just like put money into funding for cancer research, right? So it's just the same thing. It's like if we want to solve the sustainability problem, we need to put money into having research teams and scientists find the best, most efficient alternatives. But because this conversation is still kind of new, we haven't really had, or I say we, like I'm part of the research team, but there hasn't really been the funding needed to really change things in a big way.
Yeah. Okay. Am I active? Am I here?
Yeah, you're here.
Let me like just as someone that's like tried in this conversation, right, is one nugget is like, who are you fighting against? Like, whose demise will it be if the sustainability people succeed, right? And
Mm.
I'm gonna. There's a spoiler. It's not gonna be oil people, because oil people are already in the electric battery business, just like cigarette people are in the vaping business. Vaping has took over, and
But then, okay, if we have that
go on.
conversation, yeah. So if you think of let's say batteries, like, okay, how do they get these batteries? Okay, you have people literally creating coups in Bolivia,
Hmm.
like overthrowing governments and destroying the natural ecology in the country just because they want to mine lithium. So
Mm,
even in the battery business, once again, it's like you're
exactly.
destroying the economy. It's like finite resources. It's not infinite. There's not an infinite amount of lithium in those areas. And once
Yeah.
you destroy the ecology, you've destroyed it permanently. So once again, it's still an issue. It's a massive issue.
Yeah.
It's just one issue to another.
And that goes into like just you're gonna, the people that are trying to be sustainable properly, they're like or should I say make these companies, they're making enemies of the biggest luxury houses and the biggest distributors and manufacturers of whatever industry that they're in. So if
Yep.
you want to change the manufacturing process for cotton, you're going to need the cotton king to come and back you, so that as soon
Mm,
as you finish making your machine, that he benefits first or she benefits first, so that they don't come and destroy your business for another 50 years. Like we saw it with the electric car business. The electric car
hmm
business was stifled because the car companies were like, no, this person's invention is not going to see the light of day. And it took
mm.
how many years until Elon Musk was eventually able to
Yeah, because they
successfully do it?
blocked it. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's the problem with, once again, the sustainability conversation, because if you fix these things, there are certain industries that are going to go bust. And those industries, some of which are worth billions, they're not just going to sit down and be like, yeah, like destroy our
yeah,
industry. They're going to fight for the industry,
exactly.
right? So, and that's the issue with the sustainability problem. That's also why I don't engage with it as much as I used to, because I realize it's kind of like a back and forth thing. It's like, okay, these people want to solve the problem, but then these people will block it because they have loads of money and they have loads of money to lose if like things do become more sustainable. So then it's this constant back and forth without any solutions.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, that's kind of where we always end up.
So no, that's really like, and it's one of those things where it's like it's sad, but at the same time, I understand it. But to be honest, me understanding it doesn't really help much. It just alleviates my stress because
Mm,
like I'm not trying to change the world's problems anymore based upon having the right conversation. Like I live the way that I try to live in the best way possible, but
right.
in terms of everybody doing that, it's still going to be hard because like I'm one of few people that can spend £100 on a hoodie.
Mm,
I'm one of few people that get sent sustainable clothes. Like
mm,
there's things that are gifted to, and you know what I'm saying. So it's like
mm,
I can't be thinking like the everyday person that kind of has to shop at Primark,
mm,
because then if they're shopping at buying one pair of socks at a time for for £5 a pop, then now they're spend £50 on sock just for 5 days. Like it's like one of those things, or for 10 days. It's
mm.
like one of those things where it's like, yeah, no, you can't be talking to people like that.
Yeah, and also, I mean, not having money means that your life is more expensive, which kind of sounds counterproductive, but it is true because
That's right.
let's say if you're someone that has a lot of money,
Mm,
then you can buy things in bulk, which in the long run are cheaper. But if you don't have a lot of money, you just have to buy things as you can afford it, which normally means you're buying the most expensive version of it, like singles and all that sort of stuff. So in a weird, twisted way, being less fortunate or like being poor actually means that your necessities become more expensive. It's kind of really
mm,
twisted.
exactly. So it's like it's not a what. what can you do or woe is me is just kind of one of those things where there is more in the economics of it than people think. And it's not just on the side of manufacturing, it's on the side of how consumers behave. Right. So yeah. But no, that's it. Do we have any more shows?
No, not for today. I mean, we can talk briefly about, like, did you see Pharrell's show? I was watching it before I hopped on live.
I didn't. You can show like you can get a live reaction fairly.
It's kind of like I'll put it on the screen. Obviously, there's going to be a separate stream for it, but it was kind of like Western inspired, at least from what I was seeing. I haven't even looked into it really. But Pharrell's been up to a lot of things. He's been making Timberland collabs. He's been out here making lunch boxes, LV lunch boxes. He's making Western inspired LV shows.
Yeah, no, he's been going. He's going still. Those LV Timberland boots are so interesting, fam. They're the final level of New Yorker for sure.
I just feel like it's just a piece for like the type of market of, because when I think of like Pharrell's LV and I think of like what kind of celebs would buy this stuff in droves, I just start thinking of loads of rappers. I think of people like Jim Jones, and I'm like, Jim Jones is 100% gonna buy these like LV Tims. Like, there's no way this guy is not buying these Tims. So it's just like, or like Busta Rhymes, like,
yeah, no, Busta Rhymes.
They're gonna eat that up. I mean, Busta Rhymes literally has that song, "I'm on my New York shit." Like,
no, bro. Some of these looks are even wild. Wow. Wait, scroll down quickly for me, please. I don't even see that. Like, literally, I'm seeing all of this for the first time. For the first time, this is interesting.
Yeah, I only caught like 3/4 of it because it literally happened just before the stream started. But after the stream, I'm lecturing at CSM tomorrow, so I might have to have an early night. But after that, I'll like look into it.
That's fine. So yeah, is that Pusha T again?
Look, Pusha T again, and he's wearing the Tims. Of course he is.
I'm Vic Mensa.
Of course he is. Oh, so this camouflage is back. Interesting. In different tones. I guess Pharrell is kind of trying to make this camouflage his like LV signature.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that, but yeah.
Don't like it. I don't like this one anyways. It's not mine.
This is interesting. I mean, I'm seeing some interesting stuff. Like I said, it's not because I like saying things that are very insightful, and me saying, "Oh, it's interesting, it's not interesting," is not the most insightful thing in the world.
No.
So I'll wait till I look into it deeper before I give an opinion. Otherwise, my opinion is like reduced to just, I kind of like that.
Hot or not, huh?
What Taz Arnold is having a field day.
Fire or trash? Like, no, man. I like the way that we get to sit with these things, and I like it. No. Yeah, I'm gonna be there though. I have to be there when is it Sunday? Yeah. When's the next one?
Yeah, Sunday, next stream, Sunday.
Alright, I'm gonna be here still. Alright then.
Till then, I'll be harassing my my viewers with clips of this live stream.
Yes. Oh, that's fire. That's fire. We hit some fire topics though.
Oh no, we 100% did.
Sustainability and free shows. So yeah. And the economics of sustainability.
Yeah.
Wow, this was
the speedy bags are really nice. Because Micah, when you had those speedies, those really colorful ones, those were actually really, really hard. Like, I didn't, because obviously some of these things you have to see them up close. The details are insane. All those things. So yeah. I milked the last live stream. I actually did, didn't I? I think I made like 7 videos out of the last live stream. Hey, do you know where I got the idea from? Shout out to my guy AZ. AZ does live streams and then clips them into videos that he posts as separate videos. And I thought, why don't I do that with my live streams? And then there's someone else I watch, B Souls, who makes more like basketball content. And he does more like reactions, but he just like clips everything all the time. So he posts like every day. So I was like, yeah, like that's such a good idea. I don't know why I didn't do that for my first 3, 4, 5 years on YouTube. Like I'm so late to the party. So yeah, now I'm just milking the live streams. Yeah, that's what I think B Souls does too. The secret is to live stream on Twitch and clip it up for YouTube. Yeah, I think that's what people do. I'm not on game with Twitch yet, but I did make a Twitch and I'm gonna like play with it soon. So yeah, we'll see. It's funny, I watch B Souls. Yeah, I'm a basketball head. I'm into basketball, so I watch a lot of people. Legend of Winning, B Souls, like all those guys. Jimmy High Roller. I'm a hooper.
That's fine.
I was gonna have us all live streaming on Twitch. Hey, if I can be 0.0001% of Kai Cenat, I'm good in life.
That's
I'm
funny,
good in
bro.
life.
Shout out to Kai Cenat, fam. Shout out to Kai, I'm a Cenat.
Yeah, Roti Loves Hoops is also a really sick channel on basketball. He also talks about like UK basketball and European basketball as well. But yeah, I have a lot of different interests. I watch YouTube from all different angles. Like people will be really surprised if you saw like my YouTube history. I'm watching everything. I'm watching Formula One. I'm watching basketball. I'm looking at pop culture. I'm looking at cooking videos. Like it's all over the place.
That's jokes, man.
That's why we love YouTube. Everything's all in one place.
That's jokes. Oh, man.
But yeah, anyway, this was a really good stream. Thank you everyone for tuning in. I'm gonna head out. Catch you guys on Sunday. The plan is to make these like streams twice a week, so Wednesday and Sunday. But because I'm lecturing tomorrow, I couldn't do tomorrow, which is why I did it today. So just for your information. But yeah, I'll see you guys on Sunday.
I will also see you guys on Sunday because I'm a Cenat.